Hi, welcome to Move, Leadership in Motion. I'm Jeff Bills with Heather Mandela, and we are in the attic. The reason we're doing these tapings in the attic, which is the second floor of our education wing at Hope, is this is unfinished space. It has lots of potential, but right now it looks like just a mess. And so what we're saying is that part of what leadership does is cast a vision for what unfinished or incomplete or potential things can look like, and then develop plans and strategies and so forth to take a vision and make it a reality. So this morning, or today, because we don't know if it's morning, we're going to be talking about building teams. Here at Hope Church, we talk about teams, and we have something really intentional in mind when we talk about teams, right?
Absolutely. In fact, when I first came here, I kept tripping over the C word, which is committees for us. So, yes, every time I'd start to say something, having come from a more traditional background, well, we don't have committees here, we have teams. Oh, okay. But the longer I was here, the more I really understood why it is we do that, because there is a very different mentality that occurs when you are part of a team. So, when you're in a committee, it tends to be a little more of a state environment. It feels more corporate. There's less of an investment that occurs than when you're on a team. When you're on a team, everybody is part of a common goal. We're working together. Everybody has a role, and they dig in, and they're helping to push that vision forward. And that's really what we want our teams to become. We want them to be caring for each other. We want them to be interconnected in a deeper way than just we show up once a month and talk about finance, or we show up once a month and talk about children's ministry. We do life together within the teams here at Hope.
So as we're talking about teams, one of the things about a team is everybody is a player, everybody has a role. And so one of the first things we want to talk about is who are you inviting onto your team, and why are you inviting this person on? So we're not about filling slots and just getting people on board and so forth. When we're creating a team or we have a team, we're looking for some specific things from people that we're inviting to be on a team. So we're looking for example, a skill set. So one of the teams we have here at Hope is our lead team. This is in United Methodist parlance, this would be our version of the administrative council. In other systems, it might be our board of elders or board of directors. And so we're looking for folks who understand leadership, who have a broad understanding of our church and our vision, and who want the best for our whole church. We're not looking for folks who just have a narrow understanding of what the church is about.
One of the things we want to be aware of when we're forming our teams, we want to be sure that the people that we are putting on them are not bringing individual agendas. There is an old mentality of keep the dissenting voices close, but the reality is that by bringing on that negative or dissenting voice or that individual agenda, we often are creating a situation where we're fighting against chaos within our own teams. So we want to be really sure that we are inviting people to participate who are clear on what the vision of this team is and are willing to be a part of it in their own unique individual role.
One of the things that we would encourage you to think about is looking beyond the obvious as you're looking for members of your team. It's obvious to think of somebody who has 5 children, for example, of being on your children's ministry team. It makes sense, it's obvious, it isn't necessarily a right fit. I had the experience a number of years ago at a former church, actually, where I was asking somebody who is in the finance world professionally to come on the finance team. It was obvious, it made sense that this person would be a great fit for the finance committee of that church. And after about 20 minutes of talking about it with him, he said, look, I'm happy to do it if that's where you need me. I know that realm. But really what I'm most interested in is kids. I'm just excited about kids coming to faith and growing in their faith. And I was stunned. I had no idea. And as we talked further, I said, by all means, let's get you into our children's ministry. He became a Sunday school teacher. He was teaching our fourth graders, and he loved it. Those kids loved him, and 20 years later, he was still teaching our fourth grade Sunday school class at that church. So we had to look past the obvious to find the best place, best team for him to be a part of.
We see it with in lots of different areas, including worship leaders. You know, often you'll have people who surprise you with this hidden talent and passion for music, and it doesn't jive at all with what you think from their day job. And so we do like to kind of throw general job descriptions out. What this person does for a living may not necessarily be where they are going to excel and be gifted within the church body.
Also, with a team, by a team they have a goal. So teams, whether in sports, have a goal. You know, they want to win, of course, and so they have positions and so forth that they're moving toward. It's not just about getting together for a meeting. Committees sometimes get together just because it's the first Monday of the month, and so that's when we get together. With a team, they should have a goal, and so we also try to inspire our teams to use that growth formula that we've talked about in other broadcasts of this show, so that they have a vision for what their team is trying to accomplish, that they create a plan around that vision, that they build in disciplines of how they're going to achieve that vision, that they have accountabilities, that people leave that meeting with specific jobs and things that they're going to be doing when the committee's not meeting, when the team is not meeting. I still use that word. And that they're highly motivated to accomplish their tasks.
Absolutely, and really as a team leader, you are their coach, if we're going to continue that sports analogy. And so you as coach are responsible to your team players. It's our job to make sure that we're meeting their needs, that they're being fed spiritually, that we are making sure they're clear on what their vision is, and that they have their accountability and their disciplines set up and are able to meet those goals. So you're kind of bringing those different pieces of the growth formula up again and again and again, both as a group and individually with the members of that team. And ultimately, we continue to recast that vision. You know, that's part of keeping their motivation high, is reminding them why we're here, that we're not just sitting here and we're talking about finances. What we're really talking about is how we're going to be making disciples. And these are the funds that go into that process and things like that. So it is continuing to cast that vision again and again, continuing to meet the needs of your team as ultimately you're moving them further along towards the goal.
Yeah, I want to say something, if you're watching this and you're a pastor. At Hope, because we have a staff, we have each team reporting to a member of our staff. So every team has a staff connection. But I want to speak to pastors of churches that may not have a staff like that, solo pastors. When Hope was that size and I was the sole staff person, I was going to every committee meeting, every team meeting at the church at that time. And it was exhausting, and it was energy depleting, and it wasn't effective. And so I began to transition, and so I would ask the coach of an individual team, the chair of a team, to run that meeting without me being present. And so I would have conversation with him or her about what the vision for that team was, what the vision for a particular project might be, what the plans were going to be, and how those were going to fit into the schedule and so forth, and who was going to be accountable. So I would have those conversations with that chairperson before their meeting, so I didn't have to go to every meeting. It's important for us to delegate in that way. That doesn't mean abdicating. That doesn't mean I give up any interest I have in that team. It just is a conservation of time. It's empowering the coach to actually lead their team, and for there to still be that connection back to somebody who has the big picture for that team's role in the total ministry of the church.
And that transition can be tricky and it can be tough, but really It's what leadership is about. It's about replicating. It's about multiplying. It's about having people taking new roles and yet still very connected from you so that you are really pouring into them and you are demonstrating and leading and guiding them in what it means to lead and then turning them back to that team to be effective in their leadership.
So Heather is our small groups director here at Hope. And what we said about 5 years ago was we were no longer going to be a church that has small groups, that we wanted to become a church of small groups. And we try to embody that across the entire church, our children's ministry, our youth ministry, adult ministries, and in terms of these teams. And so we encourage our teams to view themselves as a small group.
Absolutely.
And, so that means something, right?
It does. And one of the things that I love and that I've watched happen over the last few years are that these teams truly have gone deeper. So I can take, for instance, our family ministry team. This is a group of 6 or 7 individuals who are responsible for all of the family ministry events that happen here at Hope. And they not only function beautifully as a team in that they meet their vision and their goals and providing a variety of ways for families to connect both with each other and with Jesus Christ, they also function as a beautiful small group. So they have developed relationships that allow them to lean on one another. They pray for each other. If one of them is in a time of need, they are their first phone call. I have seen them pick up kids, drop off kids, deliver kids, visit people in hospitals, provide meals for each other, and overall just be there for one another in good times and in bad. And this is what we want to see happen within our teams. We see it with our preschool staff as well. They're not just a staff. They're a small group. They have prayer partners. They pray with each other, for each other. They take care of each other in times of sickness. They function as a small group functions. And really this allows for such a higher level of productivity. Not only is it intuitive in the way that Christ calls us to work with each other, but the reality is that they're more effective.
Even our lead team functions like a small group. A few years ago, we instituted a lead team retreat that we do in the wintertime. That time is both a time of looking forward to what's going to be coming in the year ahead, but it's also really important just relationship building kinds of things. This year, for example, the team went out for dinner on Friday night, had a nice dinner together, came back to the facility, and they were surprised to learn that we were going to be doing a painting project together, meaning on a canvas, and it made everybody uncomfortable, but it ended up being so much fun, and everybody laughed, and it becomes a shared memory that we have together. We have prayer partners. Our lead team partners up in twos, and we switch that up every couple of months, just as a reminder that we are a community of faith first, and so we care about each other's soul and their progress in faith. So at every level, our teams function as a small group. So there really is, I believe, a significance in talking about teams versus committees, just for the mindset of how they're going to function in the context of the church.
So we want to encourage you to take some time and evaluate how the teams in your church are functioning right now. Do they have a clear vision? Is everyone aware of what their role is on the team? What's the relational health of that team? Is there a way that you can be structuring your physical time together differently to move them from that committee feel into that team building, team spirit feeling that we're trying to achieve? Is there care going on beyond the walls of that meeting? These are all things that we can look at, and we really do believe that this switch, while it takes some time, can be really life-giving to the different teams that are functioning at your church. And as always, if we can help you with anything, feel free to reach out to us at equip@meethope.org. Be sure to stay tuned. We've got 2 great whatabouts coming up. The first one is, what about my church and all of its committees? How do I fix that and change it? And the other one is, how do I find the right people for my team?